Welcome back to the channel. Thank y'all for hanging with me on this Thursday. So lipless crankbaits are synonymous with fall time fishing. Doesn't matter what your fishery looks like, you want to be getting to those flatter parts of the lake. So if you live on a really steep highland mountain reservoir, you're going to start traveling back to the flatter points, secondary places in the backs of the creeks to that 2/3 of the way back and looking for places where the bass can really ambush shad and not have to work too hard doing so. Flatter lakes, you're going to want to get up the river or get to the flatter side of the lake. And a lipless crankbait, again, works perfectly with that type of condition. So this is a bait that's designed for fishing flats, but more importantly, it really shines when you have too much wind to catch them on other baits. So a spinnerbait probably comes to mind when you are fishing in a lot of wind, but a spinnerbait's great when you're fishing targets, more close range type places. When I'm making super long casts with a spinnerbait, I don't want too much wind. A good ripple on the water, a little bit more than that, is perfect for making long casts if you're fishing a grass bed or something like that, or a brush pile. But for the most part, if you have a ton of wind, that's really going to concentrate fish off the edge, tuck them down to the bottom sometimes, and that lipless crankbait just covers more depth range, has more pulling power with its sound and vibration, and you can feel it a little bit better than a spinnerbait. A lot of times it's hard to make long casts in that wind with the spinnerbait, depending on the blades. If you're throwing a willow leaf, which I really like to throw this time of year once that water gets above 70 degrees, super tough to throw in the wind. So unless you have the wind to your back, it's hard to fish a spinnerbait on those super windy days without the direction of it in your favor. So that's why I turned to a lipless crankbait. Now, depending on the depth range and whatever cover you have in the lake, it is really important to pick the correct size. So right now I fish in Gunnersville. Most of the grass is close to the surface, and that deeper grass is even 3 or 4 feet off the bottom. So I'm out in 7, 5, 6 feet of water. I can't let my bait fall more than a foot or two down before I'm just fighting the grass. So right now I'm fishing a quarter, and a quarter catches a lot of big fish. I don't know, it's because they don't see it as much. Guys just want to throw the half, but a quarter just catches a lot of big ones. It always has. 25 years of throwing that, and I've caught a ton of big fish on the quarter. Now the half is also really good size. If you're on one of those lakes that doesn't have any grass, highland reservoir, steeper lakes, and you get into the backs of the creeks, those flatter points, 2/3 of the way back and further, a lot of times are out a little bit deeper, 7, 8 feet. Maybe you live on a lake that is a river. Some of those river bars, sand bars, shell bars, they're going to be out a little bit deeper. Bass need to use those like they're using the shallower places on these shallower lakes. So that ½ ounce and that 3/4 is another really good size that I would try. So it all depends on if you can get it back to the boat, but contact on the bottom, contact on the grass, brush piles, knock it off the brush pile, let that bait fall. So what I typically do when I start out lipless fishing is the yo-yo retrieve. Yo-yo retrieve is going to work like 90% of the time. So throw it out there and start just yo-yoing it. That's going to be your best retrieve for a lipless. Now, if they're not biting the yo-yo, the next retrieve I would advise is just a straight retrieve. I've witnessed this many times, typically fishing pressure or super cold water, where the yo-yo won't work. And the best way to know that the yo-yo won't work is if you start foul hooking them. So that's telling you that you're around fish. They just don't want to commit to the bait. So if you hook one in the side and you're not getting a whole lot of bites on this, try the straight reel. After the straight reel, there's a couple other ways to fish it, like a jigging style. But the key to this bait is almost to fish it like a worm. Just keep your hand moving. When you would stop reeling with a worm, just keep it moving. So it fishes a ton like a worm, Carolina rig or Texas rig. Just keep sweeping it and reeling it. Feel a little bit of contact. You don't want to be fighting it. You don't want to be hanging up, but you do want to be feeling your bait hit something. And the other really cool thing about this bait is it is a great schooling fish bait. So when you see just one fish come up, Johnny on the spot, throw it over to him with this, and a lot of times you can get them to bite. So this is the time of year where the bait is everywhere. The bass are everywhere, and that's all they're thinking about. They're not relating to the structure. They're not really relating to anything. Now, they're obviously a lot easier to catch when they are over a shallow point or they're around the bank because they're concentrated, but that's not why they're there. They're strictly there for the bait. So when they come up, if you can put it in front of them, that's what they're there for. So it's not like any other time of the year where they're just there to be there. It's not all about feeding. If you see one come up on a shad in front of you or anything, could be a bluegill, whatever, make sure you make a throw to them. I catch a lot of fish this time of year, especially doing that. So be ready with that. It's another positive to the lipless crankbait, but this is a stone cold killer bait. Big fish bait. You can catch a ton of fish on it as well. And it's super special on those windy, cloudy days where you just can't get their attention with anything else. Try a lipless crankbait this fall. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.